Hi, friends. I miss you. I wish that we could all be at school together. I'm here at home on the couch with my dog, Daisy. And since I can't read a book to you at school, I thought I would read a book to you at home. Today I'm going to read you the beginning of the book Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. He's also the author of Stuart Little with pictures by Garth Williams. And this was one of my favorite books when I was a little girl. And this is the same copy of the book that I had when I was a little girl. So it's really old. What do you see? Here's the title page. Here is the table of contents. This book has a lot of chapters. Today I'm going to read chapter 1. And this book was written in 1952. That's a long time ago. That's before I was born. That's long before your parents were born. And the setting is not like our cities where we live. The setting, well, I want you to try to find out more about the setting of this book as I start to read. Chapter 1, Before Breakfast. "Where's Papa going with that axe?" said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. "Out to the hog house," replied Mrs. Arable. "Some pigs were born last night." "I don't see why he needs an axe," continued Fern, who was only 8. "Well," said her mother, "one of the pigs is a runt." Oh, do you remember that the BFG is a runt too? Do you remember that a runt is the smallest one? So this little pig is the smallest pig that was born. "It's very small and weak, and it will never amount to anything. So your father has decided to do away with it." "Do away with it?" shrieked Fern. "You mean kill it? Just because it's smaller than the others?" Mrs. Arable put a pitcher of cream on the table. "Don't yell, Fern," she said. "Your father is right. The pig would probably die anyway." Fern pushed a chair out of the way and ran outdoors. The grass was wet and the earth smelled of springtime. Fern's sneakers were sopping by the time she caught up with her father. Sopping means very wet, sopping wet. Let's see. So far we know that Fern and her parents have pigs, and that Fern just ran outside to try to stop her father from killing one of the pigs. Do you think they live in the city like we do? Or do you think they live on a farm? Good for you. They live on a farm. See, there goes my dog. Okay, so now Fern has caught up with her father. "Please don't kill it," she sobbed. "It's unfair." Mr. Arable stopped walking. "Fern," he said gently, "you will have to learn to control yourself." "Control myself?" yelled Fern. "This is a matter of life and death, and you talk about controlling myself." Tears ran down her cheeks, and she took hold of the axe and tried to pull it out of her father's hand. I will show you the picture. There's Fern trying to pull the axe out of her father's hand. Can you see? "Fern," said Mr. Arable, "I know more about raising a litter of pigs than you do." A litter, my friends, is a little family of brother and sister pigs. That's a litter of pigs. "A weakling makes trouble. Now run along." "But it's unfair," cried Fern. "The pig couldn't help being born small, could it? If I had been very small at birth, would you have killed me?" Mr. Arable smiled. "Certainly not," he said, looking down at his daughter with love. "But this is different. A little girl is one thing. A little runty pig is another. I see no difference, replied Fern, still hanging on to the axe. This is the most terrible case of injustice I ever heard of. We know what injustice means, right? It means something that's not right or that's not fair. A queer look came over John Arable's face. He seemed almost ready to cry himself. All right, he said, you go back to the house and I will bring the runt when I come in. I'll let you start it on a bottle like a baby. Then you'll see what trouble a pig can be. When Mr. Arable returned to the house half an hour later, he carried a carton under his arm. A carton is like a cardboard box, right? Fern was upstairs changing her sneakers. The kitchen table was set for breakfast, and the room smelled of coffee, bacon, damp plaster, and wood smoke from the stove. That makes me think this story happened a long time ago if they have a stove in their kitchen that burns wood. We don't have stoves like that in our kitchens anymore, do we? Put it on her chair, said Mrs. Arable. Mr. Arable set the carton down at Fern's place. Then he walked to the sink and washed his hands and dried them on the roller towel. Fern came slowly down the stairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled and there was a scratching noise. Fern looked at her father. Then she lifted the lid of the carton. There, inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears, turning them pink. He's yours, said Mr. Arable, saved from an untimely death, and may the good Lord forgive me for this foolishness. Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. Oh, she whispered, oh, look at him. He's absolutely perfect. She closed the carton carefully. First, she kissed her father. Then she kissed her mother. Then she opened the lid again, lifted the pig out, and held it against her cheek. At this moment, her brother, Avery, came into the room. Avery was 10. He was heavily armed, an air rifle in one hand, a wooden dagger in the other. Oh, Fern's big brother Avery has some play weapons. He has a play gun and a play sword or dagger. That's like a kind of knife or sword. What's that? He demanded. What's Fern got? She's got a guest for breakfast, said Mrs. Arable. Wash your hands and face, Avery. Let's see it, said Avery, setting his gun down. You call that miserable thing a pig? That's a fine specimen of a pig. It's no bigger than a white rat. Wash up and eat your breakfast, Avery, said his mother. The school bus will be along in half an hour. Can I have a pig too, Pop? Asked Avery. No, I only distribute pigs to early risers, said Mr. Arable. Fern was up at daylight, trying to rid the world of injustice. As a result, she now has a pig. A small one, to be sure, but nevertheless a pig. It just shows what can happen if a person gets out of bed promptly. Let's eat. I want to show you a picture of Avery. There he is with his toy gun and his toy dagger. But Fern couldn't eat until her pig had had a drink of milk. Mrs. Arable found a baby's nursing bottle and a rubber nipple. She poured warm milk into the bottle, fitted the nipple over the top, and handed it to Fern. Give him his breakfast, she said. A minute later, Fern was seated on the floor in the corner of the kitchen with her infant between her knees, teaching it to suck from the bottle. The pig, although tiny, had a good appetite and caught on quickly. Here's a picture of Fern feeding the baby pig. The school bus honked from the road. Run, commanded Mrs. Arable, taking the pig from Fern and slipping a donut into her hand. Avery grabbed his gun and another donut. The children ran out to the road and climbed into the bus. Fern took no notice of the others in the bus. She just sat and stared out of the window, thinking what a blissful world it was. Blissful means very happy. Thinking what a blissful world it was and how lucky she was to have entire charge of a pig. By the time the bus reached school, Fern had named her pet, selecting the most beautiful name she could think of. Its name is Wilbur, she whispered to herself. She was still thinking about the pig when the teacher said, "Fern, what is the capital of Pennsylvania?" "Wilbur," replied Fern dreamily. The pupils giggled. Fern blushed. My friends, that is the end of the first chapter of Charlotte's Web, called Before Breakfast. If you like this book, please send me a message so that I will know to keep on reading it to you. I miss you all, and I hope that you're all well, and I hope that you're all having a lot of fun at home, and that you're not spending too much time playing video games and watching TV. Hope that you're reading books and writing lots of stories for me and making pictures for me, and I would love to get messages from you. So if you make something or you write something, you could ask your parents to take a picture of it and text it to me or email it to me so I can take a look. Take care. See you soon. Bye, friends.